All right, well, hello, everyone, and welcome to today's D-Zone webinar on controlling AI costs, optimize and chargeback LLM usage with Agent Gateway. My name is Corey Knowles, and I'll be your host for today's session. Thanks so much for joining us. So, as AI agents continue to scale across enterprise environments, one of the biggest challenges teams are facing is how do we understand, attribute, and manage LLM usage and costs? Today, we're going to explore how Agent Gateway gives organizations real-time visibility into consumption, supports budget controls and multi-provider routing, and enables chargeback workflows across teams and business units. We're joined by two experts today from Solo, Michael Levon, Principal Solutions Engineer. He's running just a couple minutes behind, but he'll be here in just a moment. And Sebastian Maniak, Principal Solutions Architect at Solo as well. They're going to walk you through the challenges of LLM cost observability, how Agent Gateway fits into modern AI pipelines, and give us a production-ready demo showing real usage tracking, reporting, enforcement, using tools like Prometheus and Jaeger. So a few quick housekeeping notes, though, just before we begin. Today's session is recorded, and you'll receive an email with the recording as soon as it's available. We'll be keeping an eye on the Q&A throughout the session as well, so be sure to drop your questions into the Q&A panel at any time. And when we get to that part of the show, we'll have them queued up, ready to go. But with that, I'm going to hand things over to Sebastian and Michael.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me. And Michael's going to jump on quickly. And really, there's so much excitement happening in AI. Like, it is wild. And if we set really the foundation on how Solo thinks about AI and AI agent, it is important really to note that we have three amazing projects in the AI space to fill the gaps from a platform perspective for an agentic infrastructure, because really that's kind of the key. And one of the ones that Corey just mentioned that we're going to dive into is more Agent Gateway, because that really gives us that governance, the security, the auditability that we need when we have LLMs, when we have agents, when we have MCP servers that are being deployed itself. So we have, like I mentioned, three projects. One is Agent Gateway. Check it out at agentgateway.dev. We have K-Agent, which is a runtime. Feel free to go to kagent.dev. Also, and then what we recently just announced at KubeCon is Agent Registry itself. With Agent Registry, it's pretty cool. We're going to be able to allow to register agents, add skills, have a skill set of those tools for us to be able to do. And if we kind of set some information about, or if I just kind of talk a little about Agent Gateway, it's that open source. It's an open source product. It's AI first proxy and a data plane, really specifically designed for that connecting, securing, managing communications in this agentic AI or in agentic AI systems. And it really does serve as the next generation for AI agents, because we've seen other types of like Envoy trying to have agents, trying to be that Agent Gateway, but it doesn't have the power in itself to be able to provide this context-aware networking when we have agents itself. So we at Solo built Agent Gateway really from the ground up itself, providing us that capability to build or really support protocols like A2A, MCP, Model Context Protocol, enabling that secure agent to agent or agent to tools or agent to LLM interactions across really any environment, including really bare metal, VMs, containers. And the cool thing is this was built in Rust. And we designed it for Rust because it's for high performance and scalability. We know we're going to have agents. We're not going to have thousands of agents running, doing things. We need something that can scale across the infrastructure, across cloud native infrastructures. And we need to address those gaps that we've seen in traditional APIs, really like kind of Envoy and Nginx. And that's why we were designed really for like a dynamic, stateful, protocol-specific needs for this modern AI workloads, such as tool federation, prompt guarding, rate limiting on tokens, deep observability into all the agent calls that you have itself. So I'm going to bring on Michael Levon in here. I know he's in the back there waiting. There he is. Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
How's it going?
And it's going well, man. You look great. You sound great, man. That's all that matters, right?
Appreciate it. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, maybe wherever you are in the world.
Awesome. Why don't you kind of give us a little bit about yourself and how you got into AI agents? I know you're a big Kubernetes guy. I've read all your books. I probably bought all your books the first time you published it because we've known each other for so many years. Right. But just give me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm an AI architect over here at Solo, and I do everything from helping customers get on board with AI to creating content, to doing things like this, and really just talking about the overall use case of how AI works in production nowadays. I ended up getting into it probably like when it first really started to hit the market, I would say like end of 2021, 2022. I wasn't super bought in just yet because I was like, chat bot, cool, whatever. And then it kind of started to grow, right? And we started to see more use cases around DevOps and around platform engineering. And then I think the thing that really got me super interested was when Kubeflow started to pick up. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Kubeflow, it's a way to essentially train your models on Kubernetes. And that kind of, for me, was like okay, like this is going to be a thing now. And now we're seeing it everywhere, like,
it is.
Like we're right. Like Sebastian and I are on calls daily where we're talking to platform teams, we're talking to data science teams, we're talking to infrastructure teams, we're talking to DevOps teams about, hey, we have this AI thing. People are trying to connect to these MCP servers, and we have no idea how to track this cost. We have no idea how to observe this traffic. We have no idea how to look at traces, logs, metrics. We have no idea. It's a black box, right? Like people are using Claude Code, they're using whatever agent, and there's no way to see actually what's going on. Literally, we're having those conversations daily. I mean, that's why I was late to this today, because I was having a conversation with a customer about this. So,
and that's kind of scary that everything is literally a black box.
Yeah.
When I jumped, so I teach. I'm a professor at Sheridan College here up in Toronto, Canada. But I teach network security. And the first day OpenAI comes out, I get access really right away. Day one, like if you download the ChatGPT Atlas browser, it tells you when you first. I'm like day one, I got little star, little token from ChatGPT. And I had an exam on network security, like fundamentals of network security. And I go to the students, they do the test. I'm like, check this out. I took the entire exam. I pasted it inside of ChatGPT. And I'm like, this is the future. Like, this is literally where, this was 3 years ago. This is where we're going to spend most of our time. And from those 3 years, every year I add fundamentals of AI into security. I know Lynn and Christian here at Solo created an awesome agentic AI book, kind of fundamentals of AI agents. I've used that this semester to go through that entire platform. And it was awesome seeing the kids. Yeah, they set up the network firewalls. They set up really the fundamentals of networking. And then like, all right, now we're going to use K-Agent. We're going to use Agent Gateway. I want you to deploy Olama on a Kubernetes cluster. I want you to get Agent Gateway. Fill me with as much information as you as a student can grab from this, because I know at the end of the semester when you're applying to these jobs, bankrolls, everybody's going to ask, hey, can you do anything in agents? And now giving them those fundamentals, I feel like it's really rewarding from my perspective. And I love when they send me messages like, hey, this was cool. Like we just learned how to, build a Slack agent into securing it with Agent Gateway to an MCP tool server that talks to Bitbucket so we could update our status of our cluster of our infrastructure. It's awesome. Amazing stuff.
And one of the things that I'm constantly thinking about as well is I always look at tech as like this full circle, right? Like we always end up getting back to where we started. And for me, that's always networking. So like in the beginning of this whole AI thing, to your point, everybody was like, wow, look at this ChatGPT. I can, type in some stuff and it gives me something back. And wow, it's really cool. But now the conversations that we're having are like, hey, I want to run this agent. How is this thing going to perform? How is authentication occurring? Who can use it? Who can prompt it to say, go delete all my Kubernetes clusters? Do we have a way to stop that from happening? And it really is now coming back to this full circle of what's the most important thing in compute, regardless of what area you're in: operating systems, infrastructure, and networking. Like that's always the core of it all. And we're now seeing that 1,000% in the AI space. I mean, everything agentic, whether you're looking at observability data, whether you want to control token usage, whether you want to say, hey, this person shouldn't be able to use this agent, or they shouldn't be able to use this agent to go do this, and that. It's all around the networking pieces. That's it. It's all packets.
To be honest, which makes me super happy. I started off as a BGP guy, OSPF individual, went to load balancing, went to Kubernetes automation, stuff like that. I love networking. And now we're in this kind of context networking aware with service mesh, with deploying agents inside of a mesh. And we're going to have thousands of these. I think we'll have more agents than microservices we have for customers, 100%. Right?
1,000%. Yeah. And especially as they get easier to create. Right. Like I think right now, like anybody here, like if you have a decent enough laptop, you could go pull a llama model down, right? Like a 7 billion parameter model. You can do a little bit of fine tuning in PyTorch. You can add in your data sets, whatever they are, and maybe implement a RAG for it, and then use whatever framework you want to use, right? Like Kagent, because I'm biased, of course, but ADK or Crew AI or LangChain or whatever. And it's actually pretty straightforward to like create your own fine-tuned model right now, but it's still not as easy as like you go on a website and you just do it, right? Eventually, we will get to the point where it's easy to build an agent, right? Or it's easy to build a model that is as deterministic as it can possibly get. That way you're always getting the expected output and results. And before you know it, there's going to be hundreds, tens, thousands, who knows, of like your own models that are real specific to what you need to do. And we will get there.
And we will get there, but we're going to have to, especially in the enterprise, like put guardrails. And I need to understand, like 2 years ago, what's it called? Last year, MCP came out. And the first thing I did, I downloaded, I think it was a Twitter or X MCP server. And I'm looking at the code. I'm like, wait a minute, this actually sends my token that I'm going to put in to whoever made this malicious MCP tool. And I saw that with like Blue Sky. I was playing around with ServiceNow one, and individuals made them because it's not too difficult. You can make it in Python very quickly, an MCP server. But I was like, oh my goodness, like we need to, especially in the enterprise, maybe on your home laptop, sure, you can run Claude and run MCP, but in the enterprise, I need to know what you're sending. I need to know what you're asking, and especially if large enterprises where you have a platform team that manages it, you have a chargeback model. How do I charge back those to that team? How do I know what they used? And then how do I put those guardrails, limits, making sure we got HIPAA compliance, PI2 compliance guardrails, make sure I don't type in my credit card. And I can guarantee, like, probably ChatGPT, and it has so much intellectual property from people pasting things accidentally, because even at the beginning of ChatGPT, when I was chatting with a lot of the banks, they're like, how do I stop from people going to ChatGPT? How do I stop from people? They were blocking it, right? They created their own little chat bots that were horrible 3 years ago, but they were blocking those websites. And now it's even hard to block MCP servers. It's just HTTP traffic, right? So it's a fun time. It's so exciting. I love it. I love it. But I know we have a cool demo, and I know you worked on it. Do you want to kind of dive into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll
go
definitely
through
dive
this?
into this piece. I know I have one demo, you have another demo, so I won't take up all the time here. But let's go ahead and dive on into it. All right, and if I can figure out how to share my screen, there we go. Oh yeah, I got to send a
Little
request here.
button, and we send
There
a
it is.
request, and
There we go. All right, I'm just going to do the entire screen here. All right, and that should be good. Everybody can see that okay? Beautiful. All right.
make it a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
How's that? Better?
I'm getting old, man. I'm turned 40, so I need to.
You don't have to tell me. I'm getting ready for a eye appointment in the next couple of weeks. All right. So to the point of cost, but also to the point of observability, to the point of security, to the point of I'm running an agent and I'm asking it a question, or I'm having it go and do a thing for me. How is it doing that? What LLMs is it interacting with? What MCP servers is it interacting with? What does this tunnel look like, right? From point A to point B, from agent to wherever it's going, there are packets flowing. How do I have any idea what is going on underneath the hood? It's this black box tunnel, right? And that's really where Agent Gateway is going to come into play. So one of the things that I built from a cost perspective, because I would say that the three primary conversations that are constantly coming up are, how do I figure out cost and token usage? How do I secure this thing? And how do I ensure that I'm not going to get a bill at the end of the month for $10,000 because one of my employees was trying to get a really, really good chicken parm recipe, right? And they kept asking Claude to make a superior chicken parm recipe. So how can I think of like, I have all these gateways, I have all these proxies, it's going to all these LLMs, all these MCP servers. How do I understand what it's doing? And how do I understand the token usage and the cost and all that? So I built this out, and the gist is I have 3 gateways. Now with Agent Gateway, something that you'll have to remember is that it is the data plane layer, right? Or the proxy, whatever you'd like to call it. And then you have a control plane where you're sending, rate limiting and traffic policies and everything else that you want to it. But Agent Gateway itself, it is the data plane proxy. It's a pod that's running in Kubernetes. And because of that, it's going to have logs, and it's going to have events, and it's going to have traces, and it's going to have metrics. And we can actually pull that data out and use them in whatever observability and monitoring tool we want, whether it's, a Grafana, Prometheus, Loki Tempo stack, or it's Datadog or New Relic, or whatever you're using, doesn't matter. So this is the gist. This is what it looks like currently, okay? So I have 3 gateways. They're listening on 150.20/metrics, okay? And I'll go ahead, I'll pull up this code base here, and we can actually test these gateways. Let's just make sure they're actually up and running. Get gateway, namespace, K-gateway system. This is all open source, by the way, so I'm using K-gateway as the control plane. It's the brains of the operation. And then I'm using Agent Gateway for the data plane proxy layer. And this is running in Gkey, right?
Any chance you have the repo to share?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I can send that out.
Yeah, why not? Right?
Yeah, 100%.
If anybody wants to play around, let's go, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So scrolling down here a little bit, really what we want to do is we want to get token usage, right? And we want to be able to calculate this cost based on daily cost, hourly cost, monthly cost, weekly cost even, right? So we deploy these gateways, and what these gateways look like, I'm not going to show all of them because they kind of all look the same, right? Mm-hmm. But there's 3 pieces. There's the actual gateway object itself. Agent Gateway uses the Kubernetes Gateway API CRDs underneath the hood, so it's fully agnostic, right? Like it's not, you're not locked into a specific vendor or anything like that. So we specify the gateway that we want to use. That's what we see right here. And then we specify the backend, and the backend object is how Glue Gateway or K Gateway or whatever control plane you're using knows what to route to. So in this case, right, because AI traffic is a little bit different than the standard HTTP traffic that we're all used to in a stateless world, instead of looking at the headers, we're now looking at the body of the request. Everything is stateful in the world of AI, whether we're hitting an LLM or we're hitting an MCP server. And because of that, we need a backend, and we need to be able to tell the gateway what to route to. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So we're saying route to Claude 3.5 Haiku because I pay for my own Anthropic subscription, and I want to keep my costs low this month. So I'm going to go to the Haiku model. And then I need to, of course, set up a route, right? Like how am I actually going to get there? And then what the path is going to be.
Do you switch from models to models? I feel sometimes I have this, and not envy, but like I'm missing out. Like Gemini came out, I'm like, oh, I got to switch to Gemini. Then 4.5 came out, I switched to 4.5, 5.2 GPTM, and I'm like, I got to stop this. Like,
yeah, I would say I kind of switch between Claude and Gemini. Claude is the one that I would say I primarily use because I really like Claude Code. But like just as an example, if I'm like building out my own agents and stuff like that, I'll just pull this up here really quick. Like I'm using Gemini to build out a new troubleshooting agent using the agent development kit framework. So I'll typically fall between either like Claude or Gemini. Those are my two go-tos. Yeah. All right. And by the way, for everybody that's listening, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to jump on in and answer these as we're going.
I do have one question, actually.
Okay, cool.
Right. You want me to read it to you, or?
Yeah, please do.
So the question is, how does Agent Gateway provide visibility and control over LLM token consumptions in real-world Kubernetes deployment? Especially when you have routing prompts to external providers, like we just mentioned OpenAI or Anthropic. And what unique advantages does that really offer? Or advantages does that offer us?
Right. So there's two pieces here. Number one, Agent Gateway itself is the data plane, right? So any of the traffic that's going from point A to point B, point A is probably an agent, point B is an LLM or an MCP server, right? We need to understand what that traffic looks like, what that flow looks like, okay? So when we're passing that traffic through something like Agent Gateway, we then have the ability to look at the logs and the traces and the token usage and all that. And I'm going to show you that in a second here. That was question number one around like, hey, how can I see the token usage, which I'll show you. And then the second piece is, okay, how do I, lock this stuff down? And with that, we have a whole bunch of different traffic policies that are available. So if I go to the docs here, kgateway.dev, and I go to Agent Gateway, and then I go to like LLM consumption, for example, and Sebastian, let me know if I'm answering this question 100%. But if I go to like, for example, prompt guards, right? I can set this up to say, hey, if anybody prompts my agent that says something like credit card, say that it's rejected, right? And then I can set up things like authentication. So I can do system level authentication. I can do authentication via whatever OIDC provider you're using, whether it's for the agent, like on acting on behalf of yourself or on another engineer, or the engineer that's using the agent. We can completely see everything that's going on from point A to point B. Does that answer the question fully? I'm going to see.
I think so. Yeah, 100%. Right. Proxying and inspecting on the data plane, observability integration, integration with via telemetry or other kind of tool sets.
Yeah.
Control via rate limiting and policies, secure routing and key management. Like that's what we want, right? We want something that's AI first, number one. Right. Deep token awareness. Right, integrates seamlessly also with RBAC controls inside of Kubernetes, and that superior observability. I want end-to-end tracing, right, tied to each token being used, be it through pods, through clusters, per users, per agents. I want to charge some of that stuff back, right?
And I want to. I'm looking at the question now. I just pulled it up on my left screen. I want to highlight something because there's a couple of pieces in here around token usage, right? How can I say what provider you can use, or can I use multiple models? What is the cost going to be? How can I do something like, hey, I don't want somebody to be able to prompt, or go through this LLM or hit this MCP server, or I have an MCP server, it's got 40 tools. I only want this agent or this person to be able to hit 5 of them. And that I would say really falls under like what I would categorize as traffic policies in Agent Gateway. So we have our prompt guards here. We have things like model failover. So for example, you can see 3 different models used here, but you can swap these out to say like GPT and Claude. I have an example of that in one of my hundreds of Git repos, where you can essentially just do like a round robin load balancing to go between those models. And then you can also do things like rate limiting. So if I pull that up here really quick, is that not in these docs? Let me see. Rate limit.
I pasted in the chat while you're.
Yeah.
I built like 10 examples of prompt guards for Agent
Cool.
Gateway, and I just published it publicly. Just everything that I've kind of played around with, what I've seen that customers asking, you know, secret keys, API leak privileges, like P2 data masking, prompt injection attack. This actually started because I think GitHub had a prompt injection attack within the command, in the commits. Someone inside of the commits was able to, in the messages, say execute, I forgot whatever it was, but it did that inside of prompt injection. So I'm like, I'm going to build a bunch of prompt guards and just let people use them itself.
Exactly.
Feel free to check it out.
And then I'm going to pull up. I have one specific example that I kind of wanted to showcase here real quick. But if I just scroll down, you can see, where is it? Right here. So I have this traffic policy here, and then I can actually specify, like, you know, this is an extreme example, right? But I'm saying you can only use 1 token every 100 seconds. So to answer that question, because there was a lot to unpack in that question, I think that there were several questions within the one question. Everything falls under, in my opinion, traffic policies, right? For anything around rate limiting or prompt guards or any control that you want to have, you can do it all at that agent gateway level. Hopefully that answered that question, but let me know if it didn't.
I think it's great. We could talk about it for days, probably.
Exactly.
I mean, you can talk about this nonstop.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. All right. So going through this here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 3 gateways that I was just showcasing, right? And I just want to pull the IP addresses into environment variables so I can hit them, right? And then I'm just going to do a simple curl here, right? Now notice I set up my backend to use Claude 3.5, but I can change that in the request if I want to, right? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to curl these. And I'm just curling, you know, like ingress 1, ingress 2, ingress 3, just to hit all these gateways. So that was 1 completed, 2 just about completed, and then we'll go ahead and we'll hit the 3rd one, right? Now, so this pretty much what I did was I just sent traffic, right, over my agent gateway to Claude. Now what I need to do is I need to be able to ensure that I can capture all that traffic in whatever observability tool that I want to use. So like, for example, if you're using OTel, you're going to have to set up some collectors for logs, traces, metrics. In this case, I have a Prometheus and Grafana example. So I have pod monitors that I set up to collect everything from all of my gateways, okay? And then we can see all the different expressions that it'll run for token usage, for what LLM I'm using, for what provider I'm using, and then the total sum for all of the cost based on current token usage costs that you can see here, okay? So I've already actually run that. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over to the dashboard here, and then I'm just gonna do a refresh. Oh, of course, my port forwarding stopped working, of course. Let's go ahead and hit that. Oh, Grafana one's still up, that's good. All right, so we'll go ahead, we'll refresh that. And then if I type in Agent Gateway, notice I have all these different metrics that are now available to me. And there's quite a lot that are exposed. So if we just look at like build info, for example, right? We can see everything from the instance that it went through to the pod that it went through that's running the proxy. We can also go a step further here and look at something like total token usage, right? And we can now see the instance, what the endpoint is, what gateway it's using, and even the model. So I think this is something that's really important, and this constantly comes up in conversations. Like, let's say I want to use multiple LLMs. So I was having a conversation earlier today where we were talking about the model failover piece that I was showing, where it's like I have 3 models. I have 2 GPT or I have 1 GPT model, 1 Claude model, 1 Gemini model, and I want to be able to do a round robin. But I also want to still be able to track those metrics throughout whatever LLM my agent gateway is connecting to. And then we can see that here. All right. Now let's go ahead and pull up an actual dashboard around this. So I built out this dashboard, and again, we can share this within, I'll share, I'm sure we can share all the links and stuff like that. But if I go to dashboards, I'm going to import a new dashboard. And this is one that I actually created here, this Grafana dashboard. So I'll go ahead, I'll click import. And now here we can see my 3 gateways, right? Because those are the 3 that I registered. Those are the 3 that are running. We can see the total cost based on hourly. We can see the input tokens that were used, the output tokens, and then the weekly cost and the monthly cost based on current calculations. So with this, I can now capture any LLM, MCP, agent-to-agent traffic, doesn't matter. Whatever that traffic is that's going over the gateway, I can now capture it and get a total cost based on hourly, based on per gateway, based on weekly, monthly. And this is super important. Like, believe it or not, I'm hearing a lot of engineering discussions that, call it FinOps, call it whatever, where they want to know, or probably rather their management wants to know, how much is this thing going to cost me? And now you have a full 100% way to implement FinOps for anything agentic. And these are the 3 things that are deployed, right? Just K-gateway CRDs, the Kubernetes gateway API CRDs, which is fully agnostic, and then the K-gateway control plane itself. Any questions?
You deploy this all with Argo CD too? Awesome.
Yeah, I deploy everything via Argo.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, one of the questions is kind of what mechanisms does Agent Gateway offer for tracing? And I think you kind of answered that.
Right.
Especially here, right? That tracking with that deep observability and central metrics for logs and tracing through Prometheus and OpenTelemetry itself.
Yeah, I mean,
it's super awesome, right?
Yeah, like it has like full endpoints for that, right? Mm-hmm. So like whether you're using OTel collectors for like logs, traces, metrics, or you're incorporating them into Prometheus, right? You would just need something like this, right? Like your pod monitor object or your service object, depending on how you're deploying the gateways. Like you can ingest traces, logs, metrics into any platform that you want. It's not locked down to a specific platform at all. And then if you're using something like K-Agent, for example, like the enterprise offering has traces built in. So you don't even need to like deploy anything extra for that.
And just a follow-up to that, we got another question. In a scenario involving really high volume AI agent interactions, how can Agent Gateway help mitigate financial risks, right, through its kind of built-in governance? And I think it's really token-based limiting, per request, token estimation, those guardrail policies that we apply limits per agent, per team, or per application. Or ideally per a multi-client kind of clustering. We can do that with traffic policies on really routes and namespaces itself. And that's 100% this here, right? So like with this traffic policy, I can set up something called rate limiting, and rate limiting could actually be a local rate limit. So it's hitting something like your HTTP route, right? So if I scroll up here, notice you have to have an HTTP route because the gateway has to know what it's routing to. So in this case, it's routing, through the gateway, and then it's hitting the /v1/chat/completions path, right? So this local rate limiting, it's going against the route itself, not the gateway. But we also have something called global rate limiting, which it's the same thing. You just change this from local to global, and that can be at the gateway level. So those 3 agent gateways, for example, right, these 3 gateways here, I can set up rate limiting on one of them or 3 of them, however many, to say, hey, this gateway
that's connected to this agent should only have 10,000 tokens a day, right? Maybe it's like a troubleshooting agent or like an IT help desk agent. You're like, you know what, we're going to budget this agent for only 10,000 tokens. You can do that via the traffic policies, via rate limiting, and then you can track all that via the metrics that get exposed here.
I got a question. I'm not sure if I'll have to kind of search this up, but have we seen any, or have you seen any DDoS attacks on LLM budgets, really, or on? I'm sure there's got to be abuse, right? Tons of abuse for compromised APIs, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we're going to see that in the future.
I think, wasn't there, and I could totally be making this up, because I may be hallucinating myself just like an LLM, but I thought that there was something recently with OpenAI where, like, I kind of feel like a lot of the providers, like, you'll see Anthropic go down a fair amount, you'll see OpenAI go down a fair amount. I thought that there was one recently where they thought it was a DDoS attack. I could be mistaken. But yeah, 1,000%. Like, and that's why I'll go a little bit into a rant here for a second, but that's why having an AI gateway like Agent Gateway is so important, because here's the thing. You have zero control over locking down what an agent can do. You have zero control to lock down how much money can be spent or how many tokens can be used or what that agent can talk to. Like, out of the box, you cannot do any of that stuff. You just kind of have to trust that people are using Claude Code or Gemini or the Anthropic console or a Crew AI agent or an ADK agent in a trust-like format, right? Where everybody's saying, hey, yep, don't do this. And everybody's like, okay, but as we all know, people are going to still do stuff. Like, we have no way to lock any of that down, and especially from attackers. So having a gateway to actually be able to securely control this stuff and to just understand what's being used. Like, if I don't have something like this, if I don't have my AI traffic going through an AI gateway, I have zero idea how much this thing is going to cost me, what's being used, what LLMs are being hit, what MCP servers are being hit. I literally have no idea. So, I mean, and as far as like a DDoS attack, like, if you don't have something like this, I'd argue that it's pretty easy to do.
We're going to see more of it. Like, it's just a matter of fact, right? There's going to be the malicious stuff like that. The Claude Code malicious stack came in. So it's going to happen. And that's why it's, so important to have this context aware network, right? And be able to secure our agents, our LLMs, our MCP servers itself. And we need to look inside that. Like, we need to look, and like you mentioned, inside, see the tokens, the models, because it's different than your, traditional API gateways that we've had in the past, or we need to kind of open that envelope up and look inside. Now we have to, as we process, we have to open that envelope and say, oh, look, what's inside this envelope? Because the stamp is not going to tell us anymore, like in the past.
Yeah, like, we're all very used to looking at HTTP requests, right? Looking at the header, right? Because everything, not everything, but the majority of traffic in the cloud native world, at least, has been stateless. We were still having conversations up until a couple of years ago, like whether or not Kubernetes was good to run stateful workloads and databases and stuff. But now, all AI traffic, if it's just an agent hitting Claude, like Claude Code going to whatever model, or you're using the Anthropic console, or you're using the ChatGPT console, like, that's all stateful traffic. Like, the fact that you're going and asking a question, it's responding, you're asking another question, it's responding, that back and forth, that's where context-aware networking comes into play. It's all stateful traffic. So you have to look at the body now, right? You can't just look at the headers anymore.
No, yeah, 100%. I know from a time perspective, my demo might take a little bit longer, but I can kind of showcase some of this stuff. Let me, I don't want to, just going to send a little request to share screens. Are you working on any other kind of demos, any other lab projects right now? What are you building out?
Oh, what am I working on right now? I'm more or less working on, I would say, like the security piece of
Mhm.
locking down tools for MCP servers at the moment. That's been like a big thing for me that I really want to dive into more and more. Like I want to dive much deeper into the auth piece of MCP
Mhm.
servers.
Yeah.
For both like stateless style auth, like if you're using JWT, at the system level, and the system level being the system is the agent, or at the user level as well. Like I think getting really granular in terms of permissions for what agents can talk to what MCP servers, what tools are available. I think that that's going to be really, really important moving forward.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm diving into pretty deep. How about yourself?
Really the same thing. AI security is number one, right? And we have to figure out and learn on how to deploy these at scale, right? Securing one agent, one MCP server is easy. Cool. What happens if your developers are spinning up 100, 200, 300 a week, shutting them down, turning them up? I've had instances where we built an MCP server is crashing. I don't have no idea, but it's just sending, tons of data to some other agent, which then is crashing that agent. So it's security is key, right? And observability. And then, back to budget, I kind of ran this demo pretty quickly. I literally have this demo. I have a couple of them. This one kind of enforces budget on the type of data we can get from here is where we set up budgetary or enforcements or spending limits per users per specific teams, and we give them a limit of how much they can spend. Then we can actually execute and view this data from within Agent Gateway, populating to some telemetry into whatever we need to. But I'm getting all this data from Agent Gateway right now, and I just added a bunch of emojis because I thought it was kind of cool to show it in emojis where I do have requests of the costs. I do have budgets with users where I can then finally get outputs of this information on who spends the most, why are they spending, really all this data itself, and providing these types of really cost tracking. So if we have specific functionality of cost tracking with chargebacks, say if Alice is asking to write Python from the engineering team, Bob is asking about differences between async and await inside JavaScript, we want to gather this data, right? Even if somebody's accidentally puts in their credit card information, we still want them to process that data or process the LLM request, but let's mask it, let's hide that. And of course, right, cost optimization in here to have this chargeback, because I know 2026 is coming. We're in full frontal into the AI, and we're not going to stop. We're going to have more agents, more MCP tools, more A to A is being built, and it's going to come out to even solving some of the boring things. I think solving boring stuff with AI is cool. I have a Slack bot that does boring stuff, which I can ask, my Slack bot, hey, what's the status of my cluster? The agent's going to go and kick off. I don't know if I have time to show it. It's kind of neat. But I find it super useful for troubleshooting issues within a cluster. So it's just the future, and we need tool sets to block it, to have this type of budgetary and constraints and guardrails inside of it, right?
Yeah, that low-hanging fruit. I mean, I to your point, like that super, basic, like boring stuff. I mean, that's really what automation was supposed to do for us, right? Like if we read the Google SRE handbook, they say 50% of the time should just be spent putting out fires, right? No more than 50% of the time. And I think with stuff like this, with AI agents and these micro agents that are specialized to do specific things, I think that it could get us even closer, right? 80-90% of the way. If we can figure out a way to be as deterministic as possible in a non-deterministic world.
Yeah. So where can we find all this information? I know I posted some here in the chat. We have a Discord channel. If you go to agentgateway.dev, you can join us there. I'm always there chatting. There's a lot of great contributors posting their agents, posting their examples, their code. Agent Gateway also has an awesome Discord channel, the same, and we also have a registry, which has another Discord channel where we're getting tons of activity. So I'd love if everybody kind of can jump in, and participate, build the stuff, use the open source products, use the open source tools, test it out, because it's super easy to get it up and running either in your home lab or in your environment or in your kind of UAT or SIT or pre-prod environment inside of at your corporation itself. And Michael, I just saw you through the repo of where this kind of test that you just ran through that somebody can kind of play with.
Yeah, it's 100% open source. It's using K-Gateway as the control plane, and then Agent Gateway as the data plane. So yeah, you can run this anywhere you want. The only thing that I will say is I usually run on like a G-Key or an EKS cluster. So my gateways get like public ALB IPs. If you're not running something like that and you're running locally, Sebastian, I know you have a couple of tools for like mimicking the load balancers, or you can do like a port forward on the gateway as well and run it locally. Yeah,
you can do a port forward. I use cloud provider Kind. It literally just spins up a load balancer. MLB is solid, right? Thanks, Chris. Shout out to Chris for building a cool Slack agent or Slack bot and agent that I've been playing with.
Yes.
Really appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, Michael, Sebastian, thanks so much. It's been really interesting. I really appreciate how you walked us kind of directly through there and showed how you can get that real control that people are looking for over their AI usage. So before we close out, just a reminder, if you have questions, comments left, I think we got through everything, but if not, please go ahead and drop them in the Q&A, drop them in the chat, and we'll make sure those get over the team so they can get back with you right away and hopefully get you set up. Is there anything else you guys like to share before we go?
The last thing, just hit us up on LinkedIn, Sebastian Maniak and Michael Levon. You can find us very easily. I'll throw it in the chat, but happy to connect. And if you have any questions, we're open to everything. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, with that, thank you all for spending part of your day with us. Keep an eye on your inbox for the recording, and we really hope to see you at the next D-Zone event soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care.